On this episode of Industry Relations, Rob and I give our thoughts on the upcoming Inman Connect New York City show. This is Industry Relations, a podcast that's at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective, with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Industry Relations with your hosts. I am the notorious Rob, the Rob Hahn, I guess. And with me is my co-host, the notorious shill for NAR, completely unpaid shill, Mr. Greg Robertson. How are you?
Hola, Rob. If people don't know, they can go back to the last a couple videos ago, and somebody in the comments said that I was an NAR shill. So, right. Yeah, I'm still waiting for my check from Bob Goldberg, and
that's
it
right.
hasn't shown up yet. But yeah,
the two funny things about that one is if you're a shill, you're like the worst shill in the world because you're not being paid for any of it. And I think from years ago, remember that whole conversation? I think somebody called me a vendor slut. And I remember responding, actually, I'm a vendor whore because I get paid. So unpaid shill is just not a thing. And two, he misspelled shill. I thought that was funny too.
Well, you know, it's funny. I put it in quotes because I wasn't exactly sure how to spell it either. So, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Right? But speaking of shills, I mean, shit, like if people want us to shill their products or their organization, let us know. We are. Greg is he's a master shill. He will shill the shit out of you.
Oh, I'll shill the shit out of shit.
Yeah, so let us know if you are interested in being a sponsor.
That's a good thing to start off with. I mean, you know, I think part of the whole thing is that we're having a good time here.
Yeah. And
I just see us everywhere now with how many recordings and how consistent we've been with these things since the beginning of the year. But in the past, I think, you know, it was just a little stop and go. Yeah. But I think, you know, I'm hoping the right sponsor steps up. And, you know, if they want to contact me at gregrobertson@gmail.com, and I'd happy to be talking to somebody that wants to sponsor. We're doing, you know, one a week now. And I think we have a great audience out there of kind of the movers and shakers in organized real estate. So if you're looking to reach those people, please reach out. We don't, you know, we might say every now and then, hey, we're looking for a sponsorship. We really haven't done very aggressive on that, but
well, you know. let's be fair about this. It's because neither you nor I are doing this to make money. But we do have producers now, you know, like EJ and the 1 and 2s, like behind the scenes, and we'd like to keep paying them.
Yeah,
that would be nice if we didn't have to pay them out of our beer fund.
Exactly. But hit me up at gregrobertson@gmail.com if you want to sponsor. I will work, you know, I'm sure we can work anything out, and you'll get to, you know, talk to our lovely, good-looking, smart,
that's right,
you know, readers or listeners and viewers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But speaking of shills and sponsors, I believe this is the pre-Inman show that we're doing.
Dun, 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 pre-Inman show with Greg and Rob and Greg.
I am so out of touch with that whole Inman thing scene for over a year now. So I think I just got to defer to you. But I think our topic is, you know, this is obviously one of the biggest events on the calendar. They had to move it from January to April, which I think is a good move on their part, because January you do have the snowpocalypse possibilities. And at least in January, New York was still very much like a lockdown airport posing as a city. Whereas now I think it'll be a lot nicer. I mean, April in New York should be pretty pleasant. So hopefully,
there's a lot of interesting things here going on. You know, as you discussed, it's like it's changed the timing. Yeah. So spring in New York almost, right? So that's kind of cool, like you said. Mm-hmm. But also it's a brand new hotel. So I am like an aficionado of hotels and lobby bars and things like that. It was at the Marriott Marquis downtown in Midtown. Yeah. It is at a different hotel. Yeah. It's at a Hilton. So I think I've been there in the past, but I can't remember. So I'm very curious. The nice thing about the Marriott Marquis is that it had a huge area to meet and have meetings. Yeah. So that was just a perfect venue, and it was like downtown, you know, in Midtown. So you're taking some client out to eat and see a show. That was easy to do as well. So just that fact is going to be interesting to see what happens.
I'm trying to remember the Hilton NYC Midtown. Let's see, where the hell is it? It is on. Okay, I can't see it. Okay. It's near MoMA. Okay, I remember where it is. That's a pretty nice hotel. There's a pretty big lobby there.
Okay, good.
It's a little older. I mean, I wish they would. I guess they need to fit a lot of people though. Yeah. Like Soho Grand is awful nice, but
yeah, but it
probably
is
a little more expensive. But have a good time there. Having said that, though, I'm thinking since you just went to Disconnect, you should have what are you expecting, to hear or see?
Well, Disconnect was like, a smaller crowd. It was an invite-only crowd, right? So this is, I think we're going to, basically start saying like, as I was talking to another industry friend of mine yesterday, it's just starting to ramp up again, right? So this is traditionally that Inman New York show would be the kickoff of the year of events and travel. I've always enjoyed the New York thing just to get out to New York, and also it had more of a business vibe than maybe kind of the Vegas ones or the ones held in San Francisco. So looking forward to that, but I think it's going to be off the hook, honestly. I think there's going to be a lot of people there. I think it's a lot of pent-up stuff there. The pandemic. Looking forward to seeing and cruising. I love the kind of new vendors and see what pops up there. It's such an interesting time for prop tech.
Well, let's approach it this way. Number one, do you think you're going to hear something new that we haven't heard before in all the events? Because that's one of the things about Inman, right? It's like there was a time when I felt like it was really new and hot. It was like the connecting tech with real estate, but this was 10 plus years ago, and tech was still relatively new. There were a lot of different vendors, a lot of different stuff, hitting the scene. And then since then, really, I don't think I'm alone in saying like a lot of folks have been feeling like we've heard this before, like there's nothing really new. And I don't know that that's Inman's fault. I think that could just be technology and real estate just hasn't been, like we haven't had like the internet hit the scene, right? Something like that. And do you think what do you think the chances are you're going to hear something new that you hadn't?
Yeah, that's a great thing. So I guess I'll say two things. Like the first thing is, I think that there's a shift going on to like, in the prop tech to more fintech, where we talked about this before. One of the predictions that came out of that Inman Disconnect was like every buyer in the future will be a cash buyer. So this changing way of finance, how you finance a home and what that's all about. I think there's going to be more and more of those types of things that are out there that deal with like the mortgage side of things. I think we're going to be hearing more of. And then honestly, and I hate to we always bring these guys up, but I really think everybody's waiting to see, what the new homes.com looks like and whatever CoStar is thing. Now, I'm not sure if this Inman Connect thing, this New York Connect is too soon, if they're going to preview anything. They have talked about that City Snap. So that's in New York. So
right
in the back of my head, are they going to be doing something there? They're always famous for doing a lot of parties, big parties. So I haven't heard anything about that, but not very sure I'd be invited anyway. But so those two things, I think, and that's, I think New York to me is more of that financial, I guess I was trying to say before. But yeah, on the consumer side of things, as far as like, or, agent side of things, I mean, maybe nothing new. I think there's more on the finance stuff that we'll hear more about in the future. And maybe Inman will be one of those places we'll hear more about that.
I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? Because Inman, when it started, like New York was a secondary thing. Like it was a San Francisco event. So it was tech, Silicon Valley, real estate. And then they did New York. And I've always thought if you're going to do New York, it should be finance and real estate, right? New York's not like a hotbed of technology, sorry to all the New York tech vendors out there, but I'm sorry, you're not, you're not Silicon Valley. You're not Austin, you're not like the tech hub. You are the finance capital of the world though. So Now, having said that, I mean, you look at the agenda, I don't think we're going to hear from Homes.com, but we are going to hear from Susan Daimler talking about the Zillow Super app.
Yeah. So maybe more on that super app, right? For sure.
Yeah. And apparently Brad's going to interview her and just get into it. I hope get something new, you know?
No, I like her. I mean, the other thing is like, I mean, what is going to happen with a lot of the I mean, the talk right now is just all the kind of real estate stocks, tech stocks are kind of depressed, right? I mean, yeah. And then you had, Knock, right? That, had to kind of got some funding, but had to really pare down. And I read another, post about Better. Those guys, what a bunch of fucking idiots, those guys. Yeah. Jesus, this guy, now they're like asking people to leave or something. And I mean, anyway, so, but it's a weird time right now because some of these things the stocks are depressed. There's been layoffs in some certain areas. Interest rates are going up. Again, all this is finance stuff in a way, right? What is that? What's the mood, right? I mean, I look at the sponsor list and Knock is a titanium sponsor of this event, right? So, probably paid for that a long time ago. But it's very interesting to see, what the vibe is from all the vendors and the people in there for sure.
So, since you do run Vendor Alley, what do you think it's going to be? Because you're far more in touch with that vendor community. Are they depressed? Are they upbeat? Or what do you think it's going to be like?
Well, I mean, I've heard from some vendors that their Q1 was one of their biggest quarters ever.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good thing. I've heard it's just more of a struggle with some vendors. It depends on their business model too. With the the shortage of inventory, if you're doing a lot of ads or things of that nature, you might have some challenges right now. But if you're, if looking at the size of the membership of MLSs, what is growing, if you're doing a SaaS-based model, enterprise model to MLSs or associations, that your revenue's probably up, right? So I think it's a mixed bag out there. One thing that I see a lot that are getting more into the mix than I had before are these kind of apps or companies focusing on the rental market. And we're talking about Rental Beast and Rent Spree, and there's a few others out there that are starting to take kind of a more forefront thing here. I'm going to be actually speaking on a panel for Rent Spree.
You are,
and then I'm on another panel. I'm doing 2 panels on the tech session for is broker software outpacing MLS software, something like that too. So I'm sure there's a death of the MLS panel going on.
I'm positive, of course. And I'm not even there, so this isn't me. I'm not. I do find it interesting that they are doing a big thing on rentals, right? And I find it interesting they call it Nation of Renters. I'm like, dudes, just copy the hashtag Renter Nation from yours truly. Hashtag Renter Nation, baby.
Listen, I think both of us has a lot of different sayings stolen from us before, so they know to keep on going, right?
But that's probably something we're gonna want to spend some time on, because I don't think Inman's not really a place for property managers. Do you know what I mean? Like, they already have I spoke to NARPM 2 weeks ago, and that was a really cool show. It's a very different audience, it's a very different world, right? But if that bridge starts to happen, that would be real interesting to see, the real estate world and the property management world. They need to combine, I'm not sure if they're going to talk about that, or, Rental Beast and some of these rental vendors kind of in our side of the fence. You know what I mean? It's more about managing listings and blah, blah, blah. But it's but if I'm an investor, I'm less concerned about buying and selling properties. I'm more concerned about how do I manage it once I bought it, right? And most real estate agents have no answer to that. Right? So I'd be really interested to see if there's more of a talk and focus around property management at Inman. That would be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I think probably. I haven't looked at the agenda too deeply, but I'm looking forward to. I'm just, to me, it's all about it's a networking event to me. Most of those hallway conversations, kind of can turn into something else. And I like to kind of triangulate. Maybe I know a little bit of information, and then I'll talk to somebody and find out a little bit here and then a little bit there, and this is what's going on, right? Those are the kind of things that I love to kind of get out of there. But another thing Inman's known for is, I know this happened with W&R a lot of times, is that we would do a bigger announcement at Inman, right? So as I said, so what does Zillow, does Realtor.com, does CoStar, does Lone Wolf, does whoever have any big announcements coming that they'll be dropping there? A lot of times, some of those acquisitions, announcements of acquisitions happen at those kind of shows where they can kind of tout the acquisition. Right. And be, I know from a vendor standpoint, if you have your clients there too, when you do a big acquisition, it's nice to be at an event where you can hit a lot of people in face to face to kind of explain or spin or whatever on those things. So because it's the first Inman post-pan, the first real, I know they had the Vegas one last year, but it was still non-mask one.
Yeah, it was still kind of in the midst of the whole, paranoia. Do you think more of the industry will attend this one? I just haven't, because over the last several years, a lot of MLS folks are like, I'm not going to Inman. They felt like that's really not where I want to go. They'd rather go to CMLS. They'd rather go to RESO. Other events that have kind of taken the place. I mean, do you think that's going to be different this time because it's the first one in such a long time?
I think so. I mean, I know, one of the things seeing out there is some of the larger MLSs, let's say, when you're on the board of directors there, one of the perks of being on the board of directors is that you get to go to some of these events that they budgeted for, New York, San Francisco, a list of them, right? Mid-year, national, and these board of directors that got on there were all looking forward to kind of traveling more and seeing these kind of things, and they didn't get to do that. So I think there's a lot of pent up demand here for a lot of the leadership, but a lot of the associations and MLSs to do that. I don't think Inman is not really either one of those is not really a big one for associations, and maybe a little bit less on MLSs, but you do get quite a few there. You do get a lot of vendors, of course. Yeah. And that's always good just to catch up on what's going on with everybody else here, so you can stay attuned. But no, it hasn't traditionally been a big associations thing or MLS thing. But that being said, there's still a lot of MLS folks that show up to that stuff. Yeah,
it's more of a broker agent show.
Yeah, franchisors. So the Realogy's crews and those kind of guys would go there. Yeah. I mean, it's in New York, so Realogy isn't that far, although I know a lot of those people work remote now. So
and they do day trips and stuff. They're not going to stay at the hotel and all that jazz. Yeah, but I mean, it'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm real curious because there's these weird strains, right? And I don't know, you and I have talked about conferences generally, right? What is the point of a conference? What's the purpose? And I think in real estate, it's mostly just networking, right? In other words, you look at other industries, and sometimes they'll have conferences where they're really debating stuff, or they're really introducing new things, right? So I don't know, medical conferences, right? They're literally just talking about new techniques, right? I figure out how to do this surgery in a new way, or some vendor, it's sponsored, but it's still pretty relevant. Here's a new whatever machine that's going to let you do arthroscopic surgery with a laser and blah blah blah. I don't really feel like we get a lot of that in real estate.
Well, I think there's probably more of it than you think of. I mean, you're coming from an angle of you go there as a speaker, or you go there as to meet, have meetings and stuff. Yeah. But your agent is signing up, and if you look at the agenda, there's a shit ton of breakout sessions on how to use this. What's the perfect closing gift? What's there's all that type of content as well. If you're coming it through the lens of an agent or a broker, right? So I don't think you and I look at those types of things. You're looking at when is the one I'm going to, what panel am I speaking on, or what, what session am I?
It's been a while since I've done that,
right? Yeah.
But no, I'm just looking at like, even if I'm not an agent, right? So I'm trying to think like, I'm trying to think of the last major, like really like, oh, this is new, from the vendor side, not like, hey, we've improved our website builder kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It might have been you guys at Cloud CMA talking about the, I forgot what you called it, the iBuyer Connect thing.
Yeah.
It might have been that. It might have been Flackner talking about the buy side stuff that he's doing. Buyergraph. Just like these new things that allow for new techniques, new, not just, hey, remember that whatever, this website, now we've added this Flash module, right? This way of doing lead generation, that we've added this new, new slight wrinkle, right? Matterport, things like that. Like, it's been a while, right? And when it is, it's more like on Vendor Alley, right? To that, which is the name of your blog, as opposed to being on main stage. But okay, we've come up with this new technology. Now it's going to let you do this, whatever, ray tracing, and it's going to do this, that, and the other thing. Or, we don't get a lot of that.
I mean, to me, it's interesting because we've had like this pandemic, this 2-year time cycle.
Yeah.
And, this whole kind of section of power buyers, right? Like Knock and others.
It's a great point.
It's really has taken off during this time. They kind of came into maturity. And I know they've been, they've had some struggles here, but that category itself, I'm like, I feel like, reading some of the Facebook groups and talking to some agents about how a lot of those guys are leveraging iBuyers and power buyers in their business, but it really has stayed out of like conferences because we haven't had that many conferences. So again, those types of, and I guess iBuyers is more of a financial thing, right? I mean, the number of markets that they've hit, have grown to during the pandemic. I mean, it used to be just 21. Now it's 50 or 75. Maybe you'll see some sessions like, and again, I think maybe it is going to become the norm. It's like, okay, you got a buyer. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send you over here and make sure you're a cash buyer. That's step one. It used to be pre-qualification, right? And now maybe the new step one is make sure you're a cash buyer, because that's the only way we're going to get it, right? And this is the perfect environment because for that type of model, because that's exactly what you have to be in order to compete in a lot of these multiple offers.
I think that's entirely true. So that's what I'm saying. But if that's what it is, like that should be the focus, right? And I know they're having a panel with like Divi and Ribbons. Like, almost, if this is the thing, then it needs to be like the thematic, right?
Right. Okay. But I would add on to that. Excuse me.
Let me give you an example though, right? While you're thinking. So a friend of mine, Wendy Gilch, for Selling Later, she's been doing a series of interviews with actual consumers and putting them up. And I don't know if those are live, but I got to hear one of the recordings. It was amazing. And in the halfway in between, she actually had to stop and be like, look, I'm not sponsored by Ribbon. This is not a commercial for Ribbon. Because the whole story sounded like a commercial for Ribbon. Do you know what I mean? Where this consumer was like making offers and losing and just failing, finally like hooked up with Ribbon and got her house, right? And I'm like, holy shit, right? Like, why isn't Ribbon sponsoring you? Like, this is that sort of thing. If that's the trend, then maybe, I don't know. Like, what are we doing here? Are we doing free consulting for Inman?
The other trend I would kind of, that's one trend, but I think there's several going on. And, we talked a little bit about this on other podcasts, but Canada right now there's another law that is banning blind offers or something, right? And
it's not a law. They've made a proposal.
Oh, proposal. Okay. So you're tied into this better than I am, but they also did an announcement with a company called Open, which does an offer platform. And there's been several of these offer platforms that have started popping up, but Open had got a contract with Korea, right? And I've seen that Open software, and it's pretty cool. Yeah. There's a lot of these offers.
Eric Bryant very well. Yep.
We have Eric. and Lone Wolf has a great offer place as well. But the difference on the new offer management systems are all dealt in multiple offer situations. right? So there is some emerging tech, like you talk about Ribbon on the buy on when somebody wants to buy a house.
Yeah.
And then there's the multiple offer stuff. So there's software so there are things popping up due to the circumstances we have now. And what we were talking about before on a previous podcast was like, our vendors, do we have the tools that are really needed for this type of market? And
right.
I guess when I think about it now that we're talking, it's like there are some vendors that absolutely have, right, the multiple offers and the financing and things like that. So what other niches, what other things are we going to kind of twist to and turn to handle that? That's going to be kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, I think that's about right. But who knows? I mean, it's in New York, so I'm curious to see what comes out of it. I do think, as a general matter, what we're seeing is I don't even think we're seeing a whole lot of prop tech, if that makes sense. I think we're seeing a whole lot of fintech.
No, that's what I was saying in the beginning of the podcast.
Property angle.
I think it's moving more towards that for sure.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of companies out there that are looking at all these like fractional ownership, type models. It's not clear that those work for like single family residential, but they certainly work for commercial. Right, they certainly work for renter and investor type markets. There's so much energy around that, right? Is that prop tech? I don't know that it is. I think it's more finance, right?
Yeah,
it's more fintech.
But for sure,
the relevance. Now, here's the disconnect. So when you have this sort of fintech, it's something I brought up in presentations and whatnot. You got to ask yourself, what type of broker or agent do those guys need, right? Like if you're doing some fractional ownership REIT on a blockchain or something, like you're probably not looking for 95% of the agents out there. And the agents that they are looking at, like, are we hearing, maybe we should be hearing from those guys, right? Like, what's it take to work with, BlackRock, right? What's it take to work with some of these guys? Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I've sat in a couple like, and I think I've seen you there at like, Natalie Proppies type of thing where she just has these impromptu meetings at different events. And people are like-minded in crypto and real estate, right? And I really think a lot of the agents out there are the ones that do well are very niche, right? And niche could mean a lot of things. It could be, I'm going to focus on this area, or I'm going to focus on this one subdivision, or I'm going to focus on mid-century houses. So there could be definitely agents that pick up the thing. I'm like, well, I'm gonna focus on co-ownership and X, right? So we might not be seeing those now because it's not
fully developed yet.
Not fully developed, but I mean, it's starting to happen. Like there's a company I know of called Plum, and they're co-ownership as well. And this is like you put together your own kind of co-owners, and these houses are not like Picasso's, but like more
regular houses,
more regular houses. So you're starting to see those shards come off of the thing that are going to be a little bit different, but the same kind of concept, right? So I wouldn't doubt that, in the future, you're going to have some agents that are going to just really focus on this. And you know what? They might be compensated a lot differently. Yeah. Right? They might say, well, you know what? I know what to do to buy this stuff and put all these things together and really, this is what I charge to do that, right? I mean, so I think you'll start seeing those kind of different compensation for those types of things. Crypto is an interesting thing. I mean, I know that you're, getting heavy in that this year. That's got all sorts of possibilities as far as of ownership and how you pay for things and how you track the ownership. I mean, just a ton right there for sure.
I think we're still a few years away. But yeah, I mean, I expect, who knows, maybe we'll see blockchain be like the theme, at Inman, like in 5 years, right? So I think we're still a few years away from that. But I fully expect it to happen. Just like, and I think that what that would do though, is brings back the early years of Inman, right? Because the tech was like really hitting real estate hard, like internet just come out, blogging, like, listings on the internet, like all these new things are happening. I'm kind of expecting we're going to see that renaissance maybe in the next 3 to 5 years.
I think to go on your theme there, to me, the crypto community really does remind me of like the bar camp scene
Exactly.
back in the day, right? Really tight knit, they wouldn't meet formally in a way, but really got into
that and
then all of a sudden it's main stage. It's everywhere, right? So
yeah, that and just like the early days of the internet era, right? There's a lot of bullshit out there. There's a lot of hype, right? And then there are a few gems that are like, yeah, this changes everything, So we'll see, but we'll see. It's an interesting and exciting time to live through, especially with all the macro stuff going on. That is one thing that's a little surprising about this show is if you're going to main stage anybody at a big show like this, to me, it would be someone to talk about macroeconomics. Are you surprised at all that they're not doing that? In other words, even if you're an agent, if you're a broker, if you're whatever, like the fact that mortgage rates are going to be north of 5%, right? Fact that we have hyperinflation happening, like these things are going to impact everybody. Like, why aren't we having sort of an economics analysis or an outlook on the real estate industry from kind of a macro perspective? Like, do you think that'd be interesting at all? Or does that just bore everyone to tears?
I think it's about a draw. I mean, well, they got Ryan Serhant, right? Serhant. I mean, he's, that's the draw, that kind of thing. I mean, it's, real estate we're so ingrained in our, Bravo TV and everything else. Although I saw something, I forget what the name of it is, but there was a tweet also I saw, is that if you really want, this is great actually, if you really want to bring down the price of homes, add comments to Zillow.
Okay.
Right.
What do you mean? Why?
So it's okay. Well, here's the thing. So let's say it's a 1,400 square foot bungalow in Santa Barbara for $3.3 million. You would just get so much hate in the comments that it might actually affect the price because the comments would just be so horrible, right? Turning Zillow, and there's another company that's like, and I swear to God, I had this idea before, but taking and gamifying Zillow in a sense where you could, you predict the price of the home.
Okay.
Right? So you're showing the home, you put what the price is, and the next thing it tells you how you're on or how on or off it. Man, it's a little bit, does a little bit more than that, but I've always thought like that would be a great. So this is the idea that it'll never happen.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's hear Greg's illegal gambling idea.
Yeah, well, it's not that, but okay. I'm talking about like agents sign up for this. Okay.
Okay.
So the agents are shown a picture of a house with just the bare details. Okay. City, state, bedroom, back, square footage, whatever. And then they're asked to predict what they think the house will sell for or has sold for. They put it in, and then they let know either if it's already sold, what it was, and it keeps track of how accurate they are.
Okay.
So you got a bunch of agents, and then also laymen like you and I, right? That can go on there and do the same, kind of play this game of like who's the best at predicting prices. Okay. Let's for instance just call it a simple name like Realty, price contest. I don't know. Okay. Right. All right. Price contest.
Price is right. The housing
Price is right. Priceisright.com. Real estate price is right. So then you have a leaderboard. Okay. All right. So now an agent can say, well, I'm number one in the Rancho Cucamonga neighborhood for Price is Right for predicting home sales. Right. So because they've gone on there and they've, and that could be like, they could have a badge for their email and, and they could advertise on the site. Like I'm the number one, price guesser on fucking blah, blah, blah. Right. Yeah. And I just thought that'd be a great way of,
I like it, man.
Doing that kind of thing. And there's somebody that's doing something similar, not quite that. And I'm like, God damn it, they stole my idea. But
so let's blend our two worlds.
Okay.
Since that is most likely illegal in the United States.
What, to guess the price of a home?
No, to any sort of contest like that.
The contest is just you're on the leaderboard. You're not winning anything.
I'm just saying it's easier to even handle that, right? Okay. So what you do is you set up a company in like Switzerland, right? And then you do this in the metaverse, which is not under any jurisdiction, and you essentially have an online casino, right? And I think like European law allows for stuff like this. So you run it under that, right? Or maybe you do it out of Vegas because Nevada, obviously gambling is legal. So
you're saying that you actually compete against other agents and you win money.
Yeah. So entry is like $5, right? So you put $5 down, $10, whatever. And then you say, okay, I'm going to guess this, right? And whoever comes the closest to the final sale price would get 80% of the pool, right? And the casino takes the other 20%, whatever, right? You could have first, second, third place, etc. So all of that is gambling, right? But at the same time, if it's legal, and again, Nevada, here we go, it's gambling's legal. Well, how's it different than sport betting, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I was mostly looking at it as something that an agent can point to have street cred, right?
But if you then have a track record, then you could have that as well, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't like street cred's one thing, but man, if you actually started doing that, you could see some people just betting, right? Especially in crazy markets, right?
Yeah,
and paying a lot more attention.
Isn't there a site that like you predict the box off, or used to be, I guess? Yeah, the box office. What the box office is going to take is going to be from the first showing of a movie.
I bet there was.
And like you can go places and like pick stocks. You know, like you're fake, not buying them and just showing a track record to say, hey, if I really had this $1 million to invest, look how much I made, right?
Yeah.
And then
I don't know. I haven't heard that, but I am familiar with this. There's a legitimate gambling website out of the UK, I want to say. They have this long tradition of like these weird prop bets, right? So anyone could go and create a proposition bet, like, the color of the queen's dress, at the coronation, stuff like awesome, that, right? And I remember this came up because every presidential election, they cite this website. They do presidential election odds, right? And people bet money on like who's going to win, right? And then they'll give odds just like a sport book. So I know that exists. So it would be a variation on that, right? And so here's
who gives the odds on like such a bizarre kind of like, what is the queen's dress going to be, right?
Who the hell knows, right? I mean, whoever is doing it, and maybe it's an automatic odds adjustment engine, right? Depending on which side the money comes in.
Yeah. Right? That reminds me of that guy, the mattress guy in Houston or something.
Yeah.
Like, bets on the Super Bowl, $1 million, $4 million or something. And
yeah. And you know what? He's done incredibly well. Mattress Mac.
Is that what it is? Okay, yeah.
He's done very, very well with this whole.
Yeah, somebody, I think Jimmy, our CEO, was telling me about how it's pretty ingenious because he makes counter bets to like
offset. Yeah, he hedges.
Yeah, to offset everything, right? So, but it's a big marketing thing for him, and he makes money off the mattresses, right? But it's just
a lot of
attention.
I used to live there, so I remember his things would be like, if you buy now and, whatever, the AFC wins the Super Bowl, all your purchases free.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So people will come in and buy, a lot of his furniture, right? And then like some of them would get it for free. A lot of them wouldn't. I made a bunch of sales.
Yeah. So what kind of esoteric bets, would we make for Inman Connect? I think, one of them would be, will Brad wear a bolo tie?
That, right? Yeah. You'd have to give odds on that, right?
Yeah.
You have to give odds on that.
You have to give odds on that, right? For sure.
I mean, I think I could do, will there be more women on stage versus men? Right. I think that's that's going to need some odds. I'm going to say yes. Let's see what other, who will have the biggest attended party?
Right. I think the other one is like, what I always like about, to me, like what really makes a good event are those moments where on stage something happens that you didn't expect, right? You can go back to like Brad interviewing, Gary Keller.
Yeah.
And that kind of moment where they're pointing like, well, hold on, let me finish what I'm saying, a little bit of that kind of thing. Or,
I don't know. My favorite moment still is the Greg Robertson MLS rap.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that was at Inman. Was that or mid-year maybe? I can't remember. But I
do remember that. I remember we only had a certain amount of time, and I thought
that was unreal.
I could make a rap about this.
Yeah.
And the one thing I remember was Celeste was on our panel. We were all making arguments about, I forget what it was.
Yeah.
And the one line that I came up in my in the shower before that event was, it was Celeste Starchild. And then I was rapping, and I'll put the link in the show notes. And it was like, and you ain't no star, child.
I remember that.
The whole audience it was just hilarious.
There's got to be a recording of that somewhere.
Oh yeah, you know what? Sad part is, you know who took that recording, and I'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah,
was Freddie.
Oh
and
wow,
he passed away of COVID.
But
he was in the audience, and he was always very generous. He did a couple. He had like taken a couple videos, and he's always used to send him pictures of me doing a presentation or something.
Yeah. And
he sent me that link, and I remember that came up, and I remember that, and who did that video? And it was Freddie. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, dude, that was such a great moment though. I'm so glad he captured it,
Yeah.
But I seriously doubt we're gonna have a moment like that unless you're gonna do a rap on the panel.
No, I don't think so.
Which would be awesome. I think you should consider it.
I don't. My rapping, my I don't know. My rapping days might be over with my current employer.
And maybe there'll be a big announcement. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, look, I think, like I said, this is a pre-show. So after you get back, we'll have to do a post-show. Hopefully there's some news. Hopefully there's some things.
So when are we? So what's Rob Hunt? I mean, I know you were all. I'm not attending anything that has a mandate, and
no, it was. I'm not attending stuff that has segregation, right? In other words, like if you're going to treat people differently, then no, I'm not part of that, right?
No, public.
So I'll be back when all that's gone, and it's like as long as you don't treat people. Differently.
I guess you didn't have anything going on at the New York one, right? So
I didn't have anything, and I got issues with New York City. I'm sorry, I'm probably not going back for a while, until they come back.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you've got some issues about something, whether it's segregation or a city's management, right? I mean, come on. I mean, when are we going to see Rob? What's their next bigger thing that you're we're gonna see you at?
It's a great question, man. I mean, and the nice thing is I live in Vegas, so all the conferences come through here. Right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been doing more on the property management side, right? Some of the tech stuff, and I've got things I'm working on, But at the same time, look, for conference goers, I think the next big thing is the You and Me conference.
The You and Me? Oh, you mean?
The one that we keep threatening to put on,
Yeah. Well, to me, I think we both talked about what that would be.
Yeah.
And some of it's been joking. Like, it's like, okay, it starts at 11 o'clock.
That's right.
First session is from 11 to 12. Then we do lunch.
That's right.
Then we come back at 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and we have one more session, and then we go to dinner.
That's right. That's right. The LobbyCon.
The LobbyCon, right?
I'm telling you, a lot of folks would attend LobbyCon.
What I miss, and this is how old school I am. I mean, back in the day, and they still do this every now and then, but I miss the vendor shootouts, right? Where, you would have a rep from Paragon, a rep from, Flex MLS, and a rep from Matrix, and they got an hour to highlight why their MLS system, or it could be Cloud CMA and whoever else, and like have those kind of vendor shootouts, and do those right in a very with good camaraderie, and we all are kind of doing that kind of thing. But it's always, I love doing those kind of things, and I'd like to see something like that happen again, because we all compete against each other, and there's some goddamn good presenters out there too.
Yeah.
And some interesting software, but you kind of put that out there and kind of record that too. I mean, I think you'd have some good content. I'd like to do a live one of these with you on a good topic.
Yeah.
Um,
With
yeah,
audience
I mean,
participation. We've been threatening
yeah.
to do this for a long time.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the year with all the COVID shit being over, we'll be able to pull that off. I mean, the vendor shootouts, I remember the ones I saw, I thought they were always too polite.
Yeah. I think if you approached it like, I mean, for crying out loud, all of us have worked with each other at different companies, so we all know each other.
Sure.
So I think if you set the vibe right, it's like, all right, we're this is just going to be, let's just do this once, and everybody can get their digs in and do whatever, and we're all just going to have a drink.
I know. I'm saying, but to make it entertaining, it should be like a rap battle, right? There's like, we should be encouraging them to go at each other. Don't just talk about, oh no, they're great, but ours is great too. No, fuck that. How about ours is great and there's a piece of shit, and here's why. Yeah. Like, get the passion going. I think there's ways of getting the passion going. You don't have to go down that road, but I mean, there's different ways of being, clever with it, right, or funny, for sure. I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of vendors listening to us, so what do you guys think? I mean, would you be open to doing like an on-stage rap battle type approach where you just talk how great your stuff is and how shitty your competitor's product is?
Well, it's interesting because I know probably there's a lot of vendors out there that are out of practice of doing live stuff, right? I mean, maybe over Zoom, but it's not the same of having an audience and getting that feedback from the audience of doing. Right. I miss that a lot for sure. Yeah. Maybe
like a version of the Gong Show.
Yeah.
So, you come on, you start pitching, and then when the crowd just like, oh, gong, you're off.
Yeah.
If that happens, like, do you just get fired the next day?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know the way, all the corporate back then there was a lot more independent companies. Now that you have these corporate overlords, I'm not sure they would let this happen. Would let it happen. Anyway, but we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, considering we're almost an hour in and we've just talked about random shit and
I think it's good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to kind of heading down Vendor Alley and seeing what these young new kids on the block are doing and how that relates and different ideas that I never thought of, you never thought of. So I like, I don't have a problem with New York like you do. So I'm looking forward to getting out to New York and seeing everybody. And
let's be clear about my problem in New York. All right. Because you don't love New York like I love New York. Okay. You've always been a West Coast guy. I grew up in New York, right? I love that city, right? I mean, I've written poems about that city. So it's a little too painful for me, because I remember what New York City was like. And it's everyone I've spoken to lives there now. It's not that anymore. And I don't know if I could deal with it. So maybe another year, when New York is kind of more back, right, from sort of its self-inflicted wounds. That's really what it is. It's not like I hate New York. Like, no, it's the exact opposite, right? Like my favorite place in the world are all in New York City. Metropolitan Opera, like I was obsessed with that place since I was in 7th grade, right? So it's things like that, Greg, so you understand.
Well, it's not going to be the same, of getting that call at 1:30 in the morning saying we're heading out to Koreatown to do karaoke.
Yeah, stuff like that. Right? Yeah.
That's going to be I don't know if we're going to rally that together without you there. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, somebody will step up, and if not, like I said, it's not that I hate it's the other way. It's almost like some ex love of your life, and you don't want to see them again because they're on drugs now. It's more that kind of vibe than anything else, right?
Okay, all right.
So, all right, let's close with this. I want a prediction from you, and you have to pick one. Okay, who has the bigger and better party, Inman? Homes.com or Zillow?
I gotta say, because CoStar is the underdog here, and just seeing what they did in San Diego, it's got to be Homes.com, CoStar. I mean, but I think that all depends if they're really going to announce anything. If they're not going to really announce anything, I'm not sure they're going to be doing anything that big.
But you're hedging your bet, so you're picking CoStar / Homes.com to have the bigger, better party at Inman, New York.
If they have something to announce, for sure.
All right, you heard it here first, folks, and we'll when we get back from after the show, well, you'll have to tell us who had the bigger and better party.
All right, I will. I'm not. Right, like I said, I'll have to hear from somebody else because I don't think you might be invited, but I'm not sure I would be.
Nah, I don't know about that. But hey, if you listen this far, then it means that you like us enough. Please come check us out on YouTube and subscribe, because we'd really like to get a channel name. And I don't think we have enough subscribers to get there yet. So anything you could do to help us get a name, Greg and I sure would appreciate it.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say after the last, and I did a blog post about this. Where was it? And we I think tripled the number of subscribers, but it's still not enough, right? So we're still low down there. And I know this is a new venue, a new medium for us, so that's why. But right now we have 84 subscribers. We need 1,000, so we got a ways to go. So tell your friends and family as well.
That's right. Get your kids to hit subscribe. I mean, there you go.
Smash that button.
Smash that like button. All right. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Greg. Hopefully, I'll see you next time.
Hasta la vista.